The vast ship hung silently above Earth, hidden by technology far beyond human understanding. Inside the observation deck, Chief Researcher Dak moved slowly between monitoring stations. His four eyes blinked at different rhythms as they processed the flood of information from the planet below. "This world should not support advanced life," he said, gesturing at the main display. The holographic image showed Earth's atmosphere colored by layers representing different gases. "Look at the oxygen levels, highly reactive, corrosive to most species, and these radiation readings from their star." Science Officer Val floated closer, her tentacles carefully adjusting controls to zoom in on a human city. "Yet they thrive," she noted. "They've built civilizations in deserts and frozen wastelands and humid jungles. Their adaptability exceeds our models." The Council warned us about Deathworld species. Dak's upper eyes narrowed while his lower pair focused on new data streams. Species that evolve on such harsh planets either die out or become extremely dangerous. Vale pulled up footage captured by their drones, tiny machines disguised as Earth insects that had been gathering intelligence for months. The images showed human military exercises, soldiers carrying weapons, vehicles moving across rough terrain, aircraft performing complex maneuvers. "Their military capacity is concerning," Vale said. "They've developed ballistic weapons, explosives, and even primitive energy weapons. Their combat tactics show remarkable creativity." "What troubles me more is their history," Dak replied, touching a control that brought up historical records. "They've spent most of their recorded history fighting each other. Endless wars over territory, resources, beliefs. They've nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, and yet they've survived each crisis." "Precisely." Dak sounded worried. "A species that can survive both its environment and its own destructive tendencies is unpredictable." The ship's analysis system chimed softly, indicating it had completed its threat assessment. Both aliens studied the results in silence. "The Council needs to know everything before we decide on contact protocol," Dak finally said. "These initial scans aren't enough. We need specimens." Val hesitated. "Direct capture involves significant risk of detection. We have no choice. Our mission parameters are clear." Dak brought up a new display showing human military installations around the planet. "We need to understand their combat capabilities firsthand." Vale's tentacles worked quickly over the controls, filtering through data until she found what they needed. "I've located several of their elite military groups. They call them Special Forces. Small units trained for high-risk operations." "Perfect." Dak studied the locations. "These will provide optimal subjects for study." "What about their potential response?" Vale asked. "If they detect us, they won't," Dak said firmly. "Our extraction technology is precise. We'll take a small sample from different units, nothing that would trigger a global alert." The command room fell silent as Dak authorized the mission. Throughout the ship, crew members began preparations for the first direct interaction with humans. In a lower deck, extraction specialist Krell calibrated the beam technology that would allow them to collect humans without triggering Earth's detection systems. His assistant loaded data about the targets into the computer. "Military subjects only," Krell instructed. "The research team wants to study their best warriors." On another deck, biologist Mina prepared containment cells designed to hold the humans comfortably while allowing for detailed study. "Configure environmental controls to Earth normal," she told her team, "and strengthen the barriers. Deathworld species are always stronger than they look." Back on the command deck, Dak finalized the extraction plan. "We'll take them during their night cycle when most of their population is inactive. Small teams, different locations, simultaneous extraction. The Council expects our report within 10 cycles, Vale reminded him. 10 cycles to understand a Deathworld apex species. Dak's four eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of stress in his species. "Let's hope that's enough time." As Earth rotated below them, the aliens watched human civilization, with both scientific curiosity and growing concern. Soon they would have humans aboard their ship. Creatures that had evolved on a planet that should have killed them. Creatures that had survived countless wars and disasters. Creatures whose full capabilities remained unknown. "Proceed with the extraction," Dak said, making the final authorization gesture with his upper limbs. The Concordat must understand what we're dealing with before any formal contact. The mission was set. Neither Dak nor any crew member could predict how their careful plans would unravel, or how thoroughly they would misunderstand the true nature of Earth's most dangerous inhabitants. The alien ship's extraction room hummed with energy as the team prepared for their mission. 5 technicians monitored glowing control panels while Security Chief Mock gave final instructions. Remember, absolute precision is required, Mock said, his scaled skin reflecting blue light from the monitors. We must obtain specimens without alerting their global defense systems. The extraction beams were set to activate simultaneously at 12 different locations around the planet. Each target was a human identified as part of an elite military unit. The aliens had studied Earth's communications for months to identify the most skilled warriors. First target locked, announced the lead technician. Remote outpost in northern forest region. Subject is alone on patrol. On the main screen, thermal imaging showed a human figure moving methodically through dense trees. The figure stopped, seeming to sense something, but the alien technology was beyond human detection capabilities. Extraction in 3, 2, 1. A silent beam of pale light extended from the ship. On Earth, the soldier simply vanished, leaving not even a footprint in the soft ground. First specimen secured, reported the technician. Vital signs stable. Across the room, Captain June materialized in a containment field. He was a compact man with short black hair and the composed demeanor of someone highly trained. Despite being suddenly transported from Earth to an alien vessel, his heart rate barely elevated. Remarkable control, noted Mock, studying the biometric readings. Continue with the sequence. One by one, the beams activated around the planet. A female sniper vanished from her hidden position in a mountain range. 2 Special Forces operatives were taken during a night diving exercise. A pilot disappeared from a secure facility. Mock watched with satisfaction as each specimen arrived in perfect condition. The aliens had expected resistance, panic, even injury. But their technology worked flawlessly. Most of the humans showed initial confusion but quickly shifted to controlled assessment of their surroundings. Target 11 located, called out a technician from the far console. Military operative moving through forested area near coastal training facility. On the screen, a heat signature moved carefully through the trees. The beam technology locked onto the target. Something's wrong, the technician suddenly said. I'm detecting a second human nearby, not previously identified. Abort, ordered Mock immediately. Too late. Beam activated. On Earth, Tay had been frantically searching for his daughter Hana for hours. The 16-year-old had gone camping with friends near the military reservation, but had called him in panic, saying she was lost in the woods. Her phone had died immediately after. Tay had been about to call out his daughter's name again when he felt a strange tingling sensation. Then everything changed. In the extraction room, 2 humans appeared instead of 1. The first was clearly military, a man in dark tactical gear with a composed expression despite his sudden change in location. The second was older, dressed in civilian clothes, his eyes wide with shock and fear. What happened? Demanded Mock. The scanner couldn't distinguish between them at that range, explained the technician. They were too close together. Classification report, Mock said tersely. A younger alien quickly scanned both humans. Subject 11 is military as expected. Subject 12 is unclear. No weapons, no tactical gear, elevated stress hormones. A civilian? Mock's voice carried both surprise and alarm. The mission parameters had been specific. Military personnel only. Civilians were unpredictable and might complicate their research. Dak's voice came through the communication system. Extraction status? Extraction complete, reported Mock, trying to keep his voice steady. 12 specimens secured. Classification? Asked Dak. Mock hesitated, looking at the unexpected human. The man was scanning the room, his eyes taking in the aliens, the technology, the other captured humans. Unlike the military personnel who remained calm, this man's face showed a mix of fear and something else. Determination. 11 military combatants, 1. Mock's voice trailed off as he noticed the civilian was clutching something in his hand, a small object with a pink covering. A human communication device. 1 undetermined. In his containment field, Tay squeezed his daughter's phone tightly. The last message from Hana played in his mind. Dad, I'm scared. I saw lights in the sky. I think someone's out here. Please help me. He looked around at the alien ship, the strange creatures, the captured soldiers. His mind made connections no one else could, between his daughter's strange call, the lights she mentioned, and his current situation. As the aliens turned their attention to processing their military captives, they paid little attention to the civilian they had accidentally captured. They couldn't know that this mistake would soon prove catastrophic for their entire mission. The testing center on the alien ship was a vast circular space divided into various stations. Each station had clear barriers that the humans couldn't see but couldn't pass through. Alien scientists moved between workstations, speaking in their clicking language as they recorded data on floating screens. Chief Researcher Dak watched from an elevated platform as the captured humans were put through a series of tests. The military specimens were particularly interesting. Captain June had already completed strength tests that would have exhausted most alien species. He now stood calmly, barely sweating, as he waited for the next challenge. Their physical durability exceeds our models, Dak said to Science Officer Val. The captain lifted 3 times what our strongest security officers can manage. Val's tentacles rippled in agreement. And notice how he conserves energy. No wasted movements, always aware of his surroundings. In another testing area, 3 human soldiers were solving a complex puzzle that required cooperation. Without speaking, they had developed a system of hand signals to communicate. The aliens found this particularly troubling. They create communication systems spontaneously, noted one researcher. This suggests experience with operating in hostile environments where speech is dangerous. Captain June had noticed this too. Since their capture, he had been subtly organizing the other military personnel. Small nods, finger taps, and body positions allowed them to share information across the testing chambers. They were mapping the facility, identifying alien patterns, and searching for vulnerabilities. In a smaller, less monitored chamber, civilian Tai was completing basic reflex tests. His results were consistently average. He couldn't run as fast, jump as high, or lift as much as the soldiers. After an hour of tests, the alien researchers seemed to lose interest in him. Subject HS-12 shows standard human capabilities, reported Research Assistant Paul, a younger alien with pale blue skin. No enhanced reflexes, no combat training patterns, no tactical response behaviors. Classification? Asked his supervisor. Civilian, non-combatant, replied Paul. Likely accidentally captured due to proximity to subject HS-5. Low research priority. The supervisor nodded. Continue basic monitoring but focus resources on the military specimens. They moved away, leaving Tai with only automated systems tracking his vital signs. This was their first mistake. While the other humans were actively testing boundaries and capabilities, Tai sat quietly on the floor of his chamber. He appeared defeated and passive. In reality, his eyes missed nothing. He noted how often the aliens rotated shifts. He watched which panels they touched to open doors. He observed the pattern of lights that indicated security protocols activating and deactivating. Most importantly, he listened. The aliens didn't realize that their translation technology occasionally echoed through the chamber's unusual acoustics. Fragments of conversations reached Tay's ears as he sat motionless, appearing to stare at nothing. Second-level containment. Female. Human specimens in Section 4. Younger ones still refusing food. The last fragment made Tay's heart beat faster for just a moment. A younger female human. Could it be Hana? The timing matched. She had disappeared in the woods just before he was taken. The light she mentioned seeing could have been these same aliens. Hours passed. The military captives were returned to their holding cells after completing the days. Captain June gave Tay a subtle glance as he was led past an assessment. The captain had been watching too, and had noticed that the civilian was more observant than he appeared. That night, as the ship's lighting dimmed to simulate Earth's day-night cycle, Tay lay on his sleeping platform, eyes closed, but mind racing. The aliens had grown comfortable with his apparent docility. The monitoring equipment still tracked his vitals, but visual observation had been reduced. Then he heard it, faint but unmistakable. A human voice crying out from somewhere deep in the ship. A young woman's voice speaking Korean. "Is anyone there? Please help me." Tay's eyes snapped open. It was Hana. He would recognize his daughter's voice anywhere. The monitoring system registered a small spike in his heart rate. But since he remained physically still, no alerts were triggered. In the main control room, research assistant Paul noted the brief heart rate elevation on his monitor, but dismissed. To subject HS-12 likely experiencing a dream state, he recorded in the log. No significant response patterns. The aliens had extensive data on human military behavior. They understood combat responses, tactical thinking, and warrior psychology. What they failed to understand, what no amount of military research could have prepared them for, was the unique psychology of a parent whose child was in danger. As the night cycle continued, Tay began carefully testing his restraints, moving so slowly that the monitoring systems registered nothing unusual. The aliens had secured the military captives with their strongest containment technology, but Tay's restraints were standard. After all, he was just a civilian. In the darkness of his cell, Tay's eyes reflected the dim emergency lighting as he worked. His face showed no emotion, but inside something primal and unstoppable was awakening, something the alien research had no category for, something more dangerous than any special forces training. The ship was entering its third-day cycle when alarms began blaring in the science section. Science Officer Vale had been reviewing data from the human testing when her screen suddenly flashed with urgent warnings. The biochemical readings from one of the test subjects were changing in ways she had never seen before. "We've detected an anomaly," Vale reported urgently over the communication system. "Subject HS-12's biochemistry is altering dramatically." Chief Researcher Dak abandoned his meeting with the council representatives and rushed to the monitoring station. The readings on the screen made no sense. Human hormones were spiking to levels that should have been impossible. "What triggered this?" Dak demanded, his four eyes widening as the numbers continued to climb. "Unknown," Vale replied, her tentacles moving rapidly across the controls. He was completely stable during all previous monitoring periods. They reviewed the security footage. That morning, during a routine facility scan, the humans had been temporarily moved to allow for system maintenance. As subject HS-12, the civilian named Tay was being escorted down a corridor. Another group of humans passed in the opposite direction. "There," Val pointed at the screen. That's when the hormone surge began. The footage showed Tay turning his head slightly as the other humans passed. Among them was a young female being guided by two alien guards. The camera caught just a glimpse of her face, enough to see her eyes widen in recognition. "That's subject HS-17, Val said, pulling up the file. "Female human, adolescent, captured near the same location as HS-12. They know each other," Dak realized. "Run a genetic comparison immediately." The results appeared seconds later. Genetic markers indicated a parent-child relationship with 99.8% certainty. "He's her father," Val whispered. An emergency alert cut through their realization. "Security breach in holding Section 5. Containment failure." Dak and Val switched to the live security feed. Subject HS-12's cell was empty, the containment field visibly flickering and failing. On the floor lay the remains of what appeared to be a crude device made from materials in the cell. The food tray, parts of the water dispenser, even strips of the sleeping platform. "Impossible," whispered Dak as they watched the monitor. He calculated the resonance frequency of our barrier technology with no instruments. In the 3 ship cycles that the humans had been aboard, the alien researchers had run extensive tests on their military capabilities. They had documented their strength, speed, endurance, and problem-solving abilities. But nothing in their research had prepared them for what they were witnessing now. Security Chief Mock's voice came through the communication system, tight with urgency. All science personnel evacuate levels 3 through 5. Security teams converging on the breach. On the security monitors, they watched as Tay moved through the ship with shocking efficiency. He wasn't running wildly or showing panic. Every movement was deliberate and focused. When he encountered a locked door, he examined it briefly, then used something he had fashioned from his restraints to bypass the security mechanism. He's heading toward Research Section 8, Val noted with alarm. That's where the female specimens are held. How is he navigating? Dak wondered. He's never seen a map of the facility. Security Chief Mock appeared on the command deck, his uniform showing signs of a struggle. Deploy elite guards to Section 8, he ordered into his communicator. Full containment protocols. 6 of the ship's most highly trained security officers entered the corridor ahead of Tay. They carried stun weapons designed to incapacitate without permanent damage. The aliens had no desire to harm their research subjects. What happened next shocked even Mock. The human moved in ways that contradicted everything their tests had shown about his physical capabilities. He was faster, stronger, and more precise than any of their data suggested possible. He used the ship's architecture against the guards, creating choke points, and using the narrow corridors to neutralize their numerical advantage. Send the second team around through maintenance access, Mock ordered. Minutes passed with no response. Team 2, report, Mock demanded. Silence. On the monitor, they could see the second team. All 4 guards were unconscious or immobilized. Ty had somehow anticipated the flanking maneuver and prepared for it. He's not fighting like the military humans, Vale observed, comparing his movements to their data on Captain June and the other soldiers. This is different. No formal technique, just efficiency. Dak's scientific mind struggled to process what he was seeing. We need to understand this. The hormone levels in his system should be causing impairment, not enhancement. No species we've studied responds this way. Another alarm sounded. Containment breach in female holding cells, announced the automated system. Section 8 compromised. On the screen, they watched as Tay found his daughter. The moment of reunion was brief, a quick embrace before he began working to free her from her restraints. His movements never slowed, his focus never wavered. There was no celebration, no emotional display that interfered with the task at hand. Fascinating, Dak said, despite the situation. The parental protection drive has overridden everything else. I've never seen such singular purpose in any species. Security Chief Mock looked at him in disbelief. Is this really the time for scientific observations? We're losing control of the ship. But Dak couldn't help himself. They had come to study the most dangerous species on a death world, and only now did he realize they had been looking at the wrong metrics entirely. The emergency council chamber of the Celestial Inquiry was filled with nervous energy. 7. Alien leaders sat around a curved table, watching with horror as security feeds showed humans moving freely through the ship. Alarms blared constantly. Lock down all critical systems, ordered High Counselor Zell, his ceremonial robes rippling with agitation. How did this happen? These were contained test subjects. Dak stood before the council, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. The security breach began with a single subject, the civilian we accidentally captured. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed Tay moving through the ship's corridors. The human didn't run wildly but moved with purpose, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols with uncanny precision. We classified him as harmless. Dak continued. His physical tests showed average strength, normal reflexes, no combat training. But we missed something critical. The display shifted to show Tay's reunion with his daughter. The moment was brief. A quick embrace, a few words exchanged, before they continued moving. The parental protection response, said Science Officer, Val from her position beside Dak. We had no data on this phenomenon. Another alarm sounded louder than the others. A new security feed appeared showing Captain June and the other military humans now free and armed with stolen alien weapons. The civilian freed the military subjects, Dak explained. They're working together now. Can we contain them? asked Counselor Zeldot. Security Chief Mock looked down at his control pad. Negative. They've already secured 3 levels and are moving toward the shuttle bay. The council watched helplessly as the humans executed what appeared to be a carefully coordinated plan. The soldiers provided combat support while Tay navigated, seeming to know exactly where to go despite never having seen the ship's layout. He memorized the patrol patterns, Val realized. During his time in captivity, he was mapping the ship while appearing dormant. 2 hours later, the council received the worst possible news. The humans had reached the shuttle bay, overpowered the guards, and taken control of a transport vessel. The small craft detached from the main ship and accelerated toward Earth. "Should we pursue?" asked Mock Dak, surprised everyone by saying firmly, "No, we've already made a catastrophic error in judgment. Pursuing them could escalate the situation beyond repair." 3 days later, Dak stood before the full Galactic Concordat Assembly. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations gathered to hear his report on the Earth mission disaster. "Esteemed members of the Concordat," Dak began, his voice steady despite his disgrace, "I must recommend an immediate change to our classification of humans and reconsideration of our contact protocols." He displayed the data they had gathered, particularly focusing on the extraordinary readings from Tay during the escape. "We classified humans as a Deathworld species with dangerous military potential," Dak continued. "This was correct, but incomplete. Our most significant finding concerns their parental protection drive." The assembly murmured as they viewed footage of Tay's escape. "This civilian with no military training defeated our best security systems and neutralized our elite guards. When his offspring was threatened, his biochemistry transformed. His strength, speed, and cognitive processing exceeded all our models. Most importantly, he displayed a single-minded focus that overrode pain, fear, and normal limitations." Counselor Zell added gravely, "And once he joined forces with their military specialists, they became unstoppable." Dak submitted his final report to the assembly. "Humans must be reclassified as apex predators with unique threat characteristics. While their military units display expected Deathworld adaptation, our most significant finding concerns civilian parent protectors. When offspring are threatened, these subjects undergo biochemical transformations that override normal limitations. They become more dangerous than any specialized military unit we have encountered." The Concordat deliberated for a full day before reaching their decision. The mission to Earth had been intended to assess potential threats before making contact. Instead, it had nearly caused an interspecies incident of unprecedented proportions. "The vote is unanimous," announced the Concordat Supreme Leader. "Earth will be approached under peaceful contact protocols only. Special directive: under no circumstances should human family units be separated or threatened during any interaction." 1 month later, a different alien ship appeared openly in Earth's sky. This time they came with translators, diplomats, and cultural specialists. Among the specialists was a new role never before included in first contact missions: experts in family dynamics. As they prepared for humanity's first official introduction to galactic society, Dak reviewed the new contact procedures. One line in particular had been added to every protocol manual distributed throughout the Concordat fleet. "Remember, the most dangerous human is not the soldier with a weapon, but the parent protecting their child. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again."